it's Nicole here from Brindabella Podiatry, and as promised, I'm here to talk to you today about growing pains. And if you're on the call, then please jump on and say hi to me. Hi! Okay, so what we're going to talk about today is growing pains, and there's a lot of people in our society that suffer from growing pains. And there's lots of parents who get very concerned about their children in pain. And so I'm hoping today that I can get, hey Sally, that I can get a few of those myths dispelled, because we don't want parents staying awake at night worrying about their children. So if you know anyone who has young kids under the age of 10, then make sure you like this post and tag them and share it with them, because the more people that are educated about growing pains out there, then the better for everyone. Okay, so first up, what are growing pains? So the research actually dates back to 1823, which is a really long time ago. And there's a beautiful lady in Adelaide called Angela Evans. She's a podiatrist, and she has done a lot of research on growing pains. And thank you, Angela, for all that you have done, because you've really helped our profession and you've really helped a lot of young kids out there. So if you stick around till the end, I'm actually going to give you an information sheet. I'll let you know how you can get your hands on the information sheet, and it will actually go through everything I'm talking about today. So I'll let you know how to get your hands on that at the end. So what are growing pains? I'm really sorry to tell you this, but we don't know. Well, we kind of know. There's a few different theories out there. Obviously, 200 years of research has given us a few theories. So firstly, some people believe that it could be due to fatigue. Other people say that it's psychological. There's also a theory that kids with lower pain thresholds experience growing pains. There's another theory that decreased bone strength may be a cause, altered blood flow to the legs, and also hypermobility of joints. And Sally, I will get to your question about knee pain a little bit later. If anyone has any questions as well, make sure you ask away, or you can PM us if you prefer to do it that way. The other theory is increases and decreases in different metals in the blood. So there's not really a definitive answer as to why it happens, but there are a few things that we do know. And firstly, it's mainly in children aged 4 to 6, although children up to the age, we do see it in children up to the age of about 9. It usually has a family link. So generally when we're speaking to patients, we'll say, does grandma have growing pains? Did mum have growing pains, brother or sister? There's usually someone in the family that has had growing pains. The other thing that it is not associated with is flat feet. So we can get rid of that myth. If your child has flat feet, they're not going to get growing pains necessarily. So a lot of people actually think that they're closely correlated, but the research suggests that it's not. Flat feet can cause other problems. And the biggest thing about growing pains is this marvelous criteria that we have. Now, it's an inclusion-exclusion criteria for growing pains, and I'm going to go through this, and also at the end I'm going to let you know how you can get your hands on the inclusion-exclusion criteria. And if you know anyone who has children who might be experiencing growing pains, then they can also, through this Facebook post, I can flick them the inclusion-exclusion criteria as well, because we want to put people's minds at ease, and we want parents to start sleeping again, and not to be worrying. So the more people that know about this, the better. Okay, so what is in the inclusion criteria? So basically, when children come to see us and they are having intermittent pain, so hey Tom, how's it going? Thanks for checking in. Intermittent pain means that it's not happening all the time. So your child doesn't say every day when they're playing soccer, my heels hurt, or every morning when they wake up their knees are sore or anything like that. It's kind of sporadic. It's usually in the late afternoon and the evening that it happens. And often we hear parents in the middle of the night having to go out to their children, rub their legs, you know, put heat packs and things like that on their paracetamol. So it's really sporadic, and it's usually, actually, pretty much most of the time it's bilateral. So bilateral means that it's happening on both sides, left and right. So your child's not coming to you saying, "Mummy, mummy, my knee is hurting right here." So Sally, getting back to your question about your son, I would imagine it is, who has knee pain playing sport. It's not associated with joint pain, and that patella thing that you were asking about is probably more to do with a patella maltracking or a hyperextension of a knee, but it sounds more biomechanical. So I hope that helps you. The place where you get growing pains is your front of your thighs. Can't see this, but down the front here. The back of your knee, in that space in behind your knee, and also in the calf muscles. So it's not sort of in joint spaces like ankles and places like that. So the other thing that it doesn't do is it doesn't limit their activity. So if your child says, "I don't want to go to soccer today because my knees are sore and my legs are sore," that's not growing pains. That's something else going on, which is probably in this exclusion criteria. So getting to the exclusion criteria now. So it's persistent. So it's happening all the time. It's often increasing in intensity. So the intensity of the pain is getting worse and worse. It's often unilateral, which means one-sided. It's a joint pain if it's in the exclusion criteria. Sometimes it's swollen and it's red. Sometimes there's an infection. The child will limp. The joint won't move as well. It'll have decreased range of motion, and they may have had blood tests and x-rays and bone scans, and they usually come back abnormal. So that's in the exclusion criteria. But again, if you want to get your hands on that criteria that I talked about, then I'll let you know in a little bit how you can get that. So Sally, I thought it was a bit more specific, but there was a comment about hamstring at one point. Okay, yeah, well, we can have a little bit of a chat about that. So anyone who has any further comments, who actually wants to have a more specific conversation, you can give Brenda Bell Podiatry a call, and one of our fantastic podiatrists will speak to you about more specific things. We'd love to do that, love to help out. So what can we do about growing pains? Pretty much the research suggests that paracetamol, heat packs, and rubbing and reassuring is pretty much the only thing that we can do. Unfortunately, there is no magic pill for this, but the good news is they will stop growing at some point, and the growing pains will disappear, and everyone will get a beautiful night's sleep again. So how do you get your hands on this inclusion exclusion criteria? What I'd love you to do is comment in below criteria, and we will be in touch with you. And I've actually done up a beautiful information sheet with everything I've just been through on it, and it has the inclusion exclusion criteria there. So if you know anyone who may like this information as well, tag them in this post and share this post, and then we can get this out to the world. And Angela Evans, all your years of research will pay off, because lots of people will know all about growing pains. So if you have any further questions, give us a call, comment below, and we'll be in touch. And thanks so much for watching. Can't wait to do another live about another topic. If you have any ideas about things you would like us to talk about, then you're more than welcome to comment on that as well below, and we can do a little live for you. Have a fantastic day. Bye guys.